وقنا عذاب القبر وقنا عذاب النار وقنا عذاب اللهم تقبل منا وصيامنا وصلاتنا ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون والسلام على المرسلين.
We call on you this very special time that what is happening in Sierra Leone is very dreadful in a way that we cannot understand. Father, we pray for your help to discuss and whatever we are about to make statements about, and you be our helper, you be our guide. We thank you for everything this day.
Who is our Deputy Chairman and Financial Secretary as well. I would like to acknowledge first, I would like to follow the tradition of the land by acknowledging the indigenous elders of this land that we own today, and I would like to acknowledge their elders past and present. I have this opportunity to be on their land, so we have to follow tradition. I would like to acknowledge our honorable guest here, especially Honorable Margaret Quirk. I hope I pronounced the last name properly. Yeah. Today to join us in the Ebola outbreak in West Africa. I miss few things like.
I live in Sierra Leone, but we are Sierra Leonean. We are so concerned about Sierra Leone, Guinea, and Liberia.
Everyone's concerned, but this is a humanitarian crisis, not just in Sierra Leone, but also in Liberia and I think Nigeria too. So it is a major concern. Africa are our neighbours really, and they're closest neighbours with the Indian Ocean, so we want to certainly give you comfort. You must be worried about friends and family, but we also want to see if we can give you any concrete assistance. And I think assistance is there is assisting and making sure there are sufficient medical supplies, sufficient people to assist may well leave their family.
We will not give up. We have to fight. The Ebola virus has brought us into a war, and it's a war that we have to fight, and we have to fight to win the war. We as a group of Sierra Leoneans, we cannot do this fight alone. We need the efforts of each.
The spread of the disease, and there have already been about, as I understand it, about over 1,100 people killed, economic hardship as well, and then on top of that, estimating the extent of the problem. But the second issue, and I think one we need to be, so I certainly, there are a number of things.
So lead us in our traditional prayers.
No, there is a G20 nations meeting in Sydney, and thirdly, certainly we'll talk to some of our colleagues. Maybe you might want to give the organisation might want to give us some help in what sort of motion we should move in the Parliament. I've talked to them.
This deadly virus outbreak will last only next 6 months, and that's just a projection. Who knows what's going to come after that? We have a brother here.
Experience so far regarding Ebola in the region, especially Sierra Leone, Guinea.
Is there any suggestion for how we can keep Ebola out of Sierra Leone? Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for that.
It's being described medically as, a pandemic or epidemic disease. Death toll have risen to 1,000 people. Citizens of Australia, organizations that have got money, that have got funds, need to.
A handful, you understand? So what we are trying to do as a community, the last time we decided to form a concerned group, not knowing that there is a group that is existing already. So when we know that there is a group that is existing already, I talked to the chairman that we are going to give our unflinching support to this particular group because we all have the same objective. So since we have the same objective, there is no need for us to go ahead with whatever we want to do. So, but we have a different message. A message here is that we want to mobilize volunteers. As a member of the health professionals, we are trying to mobilize Sierra Leoneans, health professionals,
both sides for honoring our invitation that everyone is here today. Our people are dying, and the dignity of the dying.
So we had really two fights to concern ourselves with.
So we want health professionals, both doctors, nurses, social workers, people who look at it. The most important thing about this particular disease now, at the moment, is not the treatment, it's the containment. We as health professionals, we want at least for this particular day, no new cases should come up. If no new cases comes up, the disease will stop. But if there are new cases coming up, then as MSF said, the next 6 months or 1 year, Sierra Ministry of Health page, you will see that.
Come, to our aid very urgently. As I will now conclude,
go fight the disease. Now we want. You understand? So when the term reach, where will they go? If they don't raise, waiting again for raise, you understand? Then we'll be able to.
Okay. We talked to people. Some people brought very brilliant ideas. People idea when how can we when we raise this fund, how can we help? Very brilliant question. How can we help? Some people are talking about sending money. Is that so?
People for come on board? Because yesterday me concern I say if we raise money, anybody go and volunteer for good. Then
how would it be relevant to the people?
Stop it for
No. Will that get to the right people? Will it be delivered? Right? Those are some of
how these issues are affecting our country.
Once more again, I would like to thank Honorable Jenny Freeman.
Again, we just need to make that contribution and surrender that contribution.
The health professionals, then first, there with any other way they give it the required training, because numbers already then you tell government say
raise now, we need them follow for medical.
What the Epidemic tell a man or say we work with them. This that project we just undertake. We know the right letters to
Honorable Margaret Kirk to Honorable Jenny Freeman. They've elaborated about a lot of stuff on how, as a community, how Australia can contribute. But this is not one man thing. It's not one event. It requires a lot of stuff. And these are, for instance, my brother I've just mentioned it, the physical side.
I get contact with some people that come up with the same kind of idea, you understand? But now you to be honest, when they say Ebola and feature, first may not tell everybody will do it. So appreciate you. Thanks very much for coming. And as you mentioned, now it's transcend national, regional, and it's also fellow Sierra Leoneans to join our hands. We believe in divine intervention. We can pray all night long, but this is beyond prayers. We need to act. We need to be.
For a parliament that you certainly ring and say that you support. As I said to Ibrahim the other day, I did raise it in the parliament together, and I said to him, the community out there are very concerned about Ebola and the way the communities in those countries and the people in those countries and aid and care. So those questions about whether health workers can go over and assist, so that would be a consideration. We'll assist you in this way. I also understand as well, she's pretty keen to do that.
Imaginable, as I've mentioned several times, and it affects us in a different level. It's going on in Sierra Leone. And there's also physical impact, financial impact. But I would like to call on Brother Daffy.
The concerns raised. However, other people in the community and those that are here for supporting us, and other people from different African communities are here today for one thing of how we as a community here in Australia.
I have few things here to add up again. We need support from everyone.
Somehow it leaves that pain on you. We're all Africans. We like saying our final goodbyes to the dead. We like that emotional relation, especially what it affects those that are there physically. Members, seeing your loved one going through the pain and agony.
Everyone, young and old, and the government of Australia, and all that is going to be said here today, I know Minister will turn that to the table.
True. It's very sad. The closest I've come to Ebola is Google come up with some very disturbing images. You don't want to see your loved one through that. You know, that's the pain that brought us here today, because we want to contribute to stop the Ebola there. You know, we're in flights, one flight from Kenya can drop anywhere in the world and Ebola will be there. Few days or weeks ago, Ebola was in America for the first time due to globalization. You know, we shouldn't have been there, but these are the concerns that are facing us today. It's not only one man thing, it's to love yourself. You know, you don't know who is healthy, you don't know who is fit, you know, the economical side, you know, allergy thing, they want to restrict flights just to go to Kenya, for instance, just because that disease just to spread around. It's not just like an ordinary headache or ordinary flu that can be contained. We all imagine when the SARS bad flu was around, there was like this big fear. You know, you don't know who has the virus, you don't know who doesn't have. Already fragile economy is facing some of these issues today. War that's riddled these nations, but like somehow they were bouncing back. Our nation, they don't want to be liable for putting their 100 members for putting emotion through to the local
fellow artists in Sierra Leone. I tell them, you know, dude, to see what's going on. So I tell them, pass me today as I'm telling you, I got a song for my. They don't even have internet. There's nothing there. All the music is very important in these things, and we spread the word.
Make sure that
members of Sierra Leoneans to contribute whatever way they can. It's not only financial contribution, moral contribution, but whatever way you can help to spread the message that will help people to prevent themselves from Ebola, we'll appreciate it. Thanks very much, Brother Samuel. Anyone else who want to share their thoughts with us?
I want a photo with everyone so I can put it on my Facebook.
Let's do something quick.
All right, now we have one more.
I just want to ask, now we are saying that we need to raise funds or whatever, but I'm just trying to find out how are these funds or resources going to reach the affected people.
It's a good question that I'm willing to address.
Yeah.
I actually spoke to Al-Hassan yesterday, raised this concern. And in terms of humanitarian disaster, we have to try to find out the urgent needs that the people want. Yes, we can fill in a container with a lot of equipment or whatever, but by the time it arrives there will be no use for it. So in saying that, that the government has established an emergency account wherein most of the donors, international donors, members of different diasporas will contribute financially. If they want to do that financial transaction, we'll send that money directly into that account. And it's been monitored by the health minister, and I believe His Excellency also has some influence over it. The second form of transmitting whatever logistics or funding that we want to raise. If depends on how much we raise, we can organize and send a representative who will actually and physically hand in whatever contribution we would make, either directly to the president or to the health minister. And if that's the case, we will ensure that we have a media coverage for transparency purpose. That our personally will facilitate that. So there should be no hesitation. Whatever you have, this is an emergency issue. We're not here to enrich ourselves. We live in Australia, we have very good medical facilities. We have high opportunities here. Job opportunities and educational opportunities. Opportunity for you to live your life in the better way you want it. Yeah. This is the time where you don't have to question credibility. I know we all have a fear of scam and other issues, but this is